Hello, this is Nico, and today we are focusing on a coolant leak on a 2015 Dodge 3.0 Ecodeisel. So the first of its kind, a half-ton Dodge truck with a diesel engine. So we found a coolant leak coming from the bell housing area of this truck, and we had to remove the intake manifold. So with doing that, I wanted to kind of show you a couple things that we came across with this truck. It's a Bosch fuel injection system. Bosch has been around for a long time, for 100 years. Here's the intake manifold to the whole truck, kind of nice, compact. Down here in the bottom, you can see the actual intake runners. They're really kind of coked up, very normal for a diesel. Over here you have the EGR pipe. This thing's all crudded up. You can see there's just lots of crud on this thing. Also, which is really cool, the injector pressure on this truck is 30,000 PSI, so 2,000 bar. This is a steel, so the injector, the fuel gets delivered into here, and then it gets pulled through these lines out to each injector. This is a steel line, and this is like a billet piece of steel. This thing's very heavy for what it is. That's how they can put 30,000 PSI into the fuel injection system. Everything has to be super heavy, made out of steel. It is a Bosch system. So with all that, we got the intake manifold off. Down here in this area, so here we've got the engine, the intake's removed, the turbo is way back there, all the way in the back. This hose ruptured. All right, so we got some parts in for this Dodge truck, and here is the coolant pipe. So we're gonna unpackage this guy. There's the factory part number, by the way. And then this is what the pipe looks like. So it comes with a brand new steel line. So you can see, so this pipe sits in the engine bay just like this. This goes on to the engine block, and it feeds coolant up and around here into this rubber hose onto the turbo right here. So you could see the turbo, that turbo heat shroud that's back there. We're gonna have to remove that. So this is the inlet side of the turbo over here. Over here you can't, the exhaust side is over on this side. It is the side that's wrapped in the heat shroud. The exhaust side of the turbo gets to be, it's cast iron, and it gets to be between 1,000 and 1,300 degrees. So it literally glows underneath that heat shield. And what I want to do is I just kind of want to show the proximity of where this lost a rubber coolant hose. So we've got a rubber coolant hose failure right here, right next to that heat shield. So this is by far the hottest part of the entire car, is right underneath this heat shield. So the heat shield does a pretty good job, but it, eventually it finally will, the heat will get through that shield, especially after long drives, and it'll burst that hose. The best advice that I could give is after a long drive, especially if it's hot outside, I would try to cool this engine off. I would try to cool the underhood temperature off. The only way you can do that is by popping this hood and just opening the hood and just letting all the heat vent out. Because heat rises, so the heat's just gonna get trapped. It's gonna go all up in the top. It's gonna get trapped in this hood until finally it cools off. So especially in the summer months where it's 100 degrees out plus, I would pop the hood. If it was available, I would also place a fan underneath the bottom of the car and have the fan facing upward. So the fan blew air out this way. So you're trying to vent all the heat out of this engine as much as possible. That is a very, very hot corner of the engine. As you can see, there's lots and lots and lots of stuff underneath there that are prone to heat damage. And the heat damage, sometimes it takes years for it to become an issue. We'll have a new hose installed. After that, we'll put it all back together and this thing will not have a coolant leak, and it'll be going back down the road again.